All right, so thank you everyone for joining today's webinar. The topic is technology as it's used in improving traffic incident management. We have people signed in from all over the globe, from several countries, and we thank you for your time. We have an extraordinary set of speakers with us today. We have Dennis Motiani, who is the Executive Director at New Jersey DOT, Michael Roberson, the TMC Manager at Georgia DOT, Carla Holmes, who is the Senior Transportation Engineer at Gresham, Smith & Partners, and Peter Vega, the ITS Engineer at Florida DOT. Speakers, just going by the order we have here, would you like to introduce yourselves and the TMC that you're representing?
Sure. You want me to start first?
Dennis will, yes, that would be great, Dennis.
Sure. Again, I'm Dennis Motiani. I'm the Executive Director for New Jersey DOT Transportation Systems Management. We have a very robust incident management program. We have a program since 1995. 24/7 operations for TMC, a 16-hour safety service patrol. IMERGE, which is Incident Management Response Team, available for 24/7. We have a performance measure of incident clearance time, roadway clearance time, which when we first started was at 2.75 average, more than 2.5 hours for an incident. Now it's down to 50 minutes. And I'll speak more on the rest of the stuff, but that's basically the highlight of what we do here in New Jersey.
Excellent. Michael, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm Michael Roberson. I'm the TMC Manager for the Georgia Department of Transportation. Our TMC was built for the 1996 Olympic Games here in Atlanta. We have been 24/7 operating ever since then. We have our HERO program, which is our incident management arm of our ITS program. That's also been working since 1996. We have a pretty rich history in ITS, and we are really looking at where the new technology is going to come from for how we start moving what we've been doing in 96, how we move that forward, and how we start doing things in a little bit of a more efficient way.
Thank you, Mike. Carla?
Hi, everyone. I'm Carla Holmes. I'm with Gresham, Smith & Partners. I'm formerly with the Georgia DOT, and I was a State Traffic Operations Engineer there for 3 years. And I'm also a board member, along with Michael, on our Metro Atlanta Traffic Incident Management Enhancement Task Force, our TIME Task Force, which is celebrating its 10-year anniversary this year.
Thank you, Carla. Peter?
Hi, my name is Peter Vega. I'm with the Florida DOT in District 2, Jacksonville, Florida. I've been an ITS engineer for 10 years and seen the program grow extensively over the last 6 years. Our traffic incident management team has been current TIM team. We have 2, one in our north central Florida area, one in Jacksonville, and members have been on the cutting edge trying new things to improve and enhance the incident management area, which has led us to reduce our roadway clearance times to about 40 minutes.
Excellent. Thank you so much, speakers. And now moving on to what we're going to be covering today. So at a very high level, we're going to talk about the technological advances, the challenges, the technological solutions, global problems, local answers, and then the last topic is going to be finance and funding. So at a very high level here, we're just presenting the facts in terms of what's going on today in the realm of traffic incident management. So about half of all police, EMS, and firefighter fatalities in the U.S. occur each year. More than half of all roadway delays in urban cities. 4.2 billion wasted commuter hours and 2.8 gallons of wasted fuel. and $87 billion in monetary losses, not counting environmental and other impacts. So the source, as you guys can see, is the 2010 Traffic Incident Management Handbook published by the US DOT and FHA. The reason why we started off with this is just to show everyone that the glaring issue with traffic incident management going on, and the main reason for our webinar today. So, speakers, would you like to add anything about what's going on and what's happening in the traffic incident management world today as it stands?
You want to, Aisha, why don't you just pick a person to ask instead of us all four jumping onto or not afraid of jumping onto it.
Sure thing, Dennis. Do you want to be the one to comment on this one?
Sure. We all know these numbers, and then these numbers are great. The unfortunate part is that these numbers are soft numbers. We all believe in what we do, but the politicians and people making policies, they see the soft numbers versus the hard cost, and that is a problem at times. Monetary losses, yes, we all agreed it's there, but again, it's all soft. I think as you mentioned, last 5 years, TIM has come a long way. So has ITS and other areas. Not only New Jersey, but the whole country has come a long way. We've been working on TIM for, like I said, over 20 years, and many parts of the country has been doing it. But I think it's come to forefront since about 2002, 2004, and AASHTO started working on it, formed the National TIM Coalition. So there's more focus, and the focus is getting bigger every day, every month, and every year. I think, which is good. We need to just focus on it. We need to bring more technology. But I know the focus today is technology, but we cannot separate TIM technology and other strategies that we use to manage our highways and just alienate TIM or incident management. They all twinkle. They all intertwined. So we need to focus on all strategies, just not one. It's not going to work if you just focus on one.
Excellent. Thank you, Dennis. And now moving on to the first topic of discussion today, so that deals with technological advances. In the last 5 years, what have been the most important new technologies to advance in the incident management sector? Mike, would you like to start off with that?
Sure. I think there's a couple things that have been, I think, crucial in the last few years in terms of where we're going with in the future with technology. I think the third-party pieces of information that you can go and purchase your speed and occupancy data through companies like INRIX, through initiatives like Blue Toad or Traffic.com. There's any number of these companies where the cost it takes to actually purchase this data is less than what it costs to actually just pay the power bill on the hundreds of detectors that we have out in the field. And so you're really looking at kind of a, changing a paradigm in terms of, instead of going out and doing this expensive deployment up front, you can a continuing fee, but considering maintenance cost, all ITS equipment has continuing cost. For this cost, you can then expand your the amount of data you have on speed and occupancy across your region for a relatively low upfront cost and a relatively low continuing cost. I think that's one of the biggest, really biggest changes that I've seen in the last few years, is that marriage of third-party data and how that data can be used, manipulated, used not just through our system, but through various apps. There's other apps out there that are pushing this data, using this data, the live traffic, and then in the near future, well, not even the near future, you have cars today now where your GPS navigation is tied to some sort of live traffic data. And so being able to make decisions in near real time with that speed and occupancy data, I think is how we're really going to work our way out of some of our congestion issues in the near future.
Excellent, Mike. Thank you so much. And now, Peter, what are you seeing down in the Florida region?
Well, in Florida, we initially started the program as a big picture, trying to get rural and urban areas, and then we realized the most bang for our buck is in the municipalities, the 6 or 7 large cities in in Florida. What we've done is for the detailed, very exact information, we put out detectors to come into our software. However, as we go further out into the rural areas of our regions, we start utilizing other technologies like INRICS because you get more bang for your buck. The difference is that we've learned devices like the Wavetronics or the Bluetooth give you real-time exact data, whereas the INRICS is very good data, but there's a slight time lapse, and there's a potential error in getting that information in. We just recently, over the last year, started putting in Bluetooth technology because we saw a value, unbeknownst to us, that benefits other parts of the department. With the Bluetooth, we were utilizing them on arterial roadways because they were easier to install, provided you the information you needed for travel time and speeds along signalized corridors. But the benefit that came out of it was the origin destination information that's generated. When we met with planning and we realized how much they expended on studies for these corridors, and we started drawing out the scenario, we realized this Bluetooth technology will not only help get the traffic information to us, but will give us information for future expansion of roadways based on priorities and needs, determined by reliability of the system, travel times, that kind of information.
Thank you, Pete. And Dennis, would you like to add some thoughts as it's happening or relating to New Jersey?
Yeah, sure. As we all know, people who work in TIM, that basically TIM can be broken down into detection, verification, response, recovery, and then I would also like to add notification. Every field that I just mentioned has gotten tremendous support from using technology. People mentioned Bluetooth, INRICS data, video analytics, using VMS signs, Activu. We have used them all. We have not used video analytics to the point we need to, but we will. A case comes to my mind when we were focused on an incident on Interstate 80, which goes east and west in New Jersey, and our Safety Service Patrol was responding to an incident on the eastern side of 80. The TMC and the staff at TMC, and we were all focused on that incident. The western side of 80, which does not have video coverage, camera coverage, there was an overturned vehicle. Thanks to data coming in, I think Peter said it, and also Michael, it's so easy to get data from probes such as INRICS and other companies. We could actually see that there was traffic being built on 80, on the western side of 80, leading into Pennsylvania. And then suddenly we made a call or two and found out there was an overturned vehicle, and we were able to detect that incident quickly. Otherwise, that would have taken us at least 20, 30 extra minutes to find out about that incident. So yeah, absolutely, the technology has jumped tremendously in the last 5 years, and hopefully more soon going forward.
Excellent, excellent. So as we all agree, yes, a lot has happened from an advancement perspective in the last 5 years, but that's not enough, and more is needed. So would you guys like to throw some light on what's needed, what isn't there, and what needs to happen? And let's start off with Mike.
So there's a lot of places we can go moving forward. As I mentioned, that we're kind of on the cutting edge of a couple of things that are coming to light, which are, I think, having more connectivity inside the vehicle, whether it's through your traditional GPS, or I think what's more likely to even replace your traditional GPS is more of an iPad type tablet that's in your car that has real-time connectivity, has the ability to actually receive data in real time, push that information out. And so there's real things that we can do with that, and that's what we need to start thinking about is, okay, now that I have that ability to actually give someone a safety alert or a traffic alert or something that's crucial inside their car in near real time, then what do I do with that power? What are the new schemes? What are the new ways in which we find a way to actually use this moving forward? So I think that's kind of where we need to start thinking is we have the data, we can coordinate it across our region. So what do we do with it moving forward? How do we get that information out to the people, and how do we change, or expect driver behavior to change because we can get this information out in real time? I think that's really where we have to start focusing in. Once you have that power, what do you really do with it, and do you accomplish your goals of reducing your incident time by putting that information out?
Excellent. Peter, what about you?
Well, in conjunction with what Michael said, the nice thing is with the technology, the prices have dropped down significantly since I first began with the program. There's all this data collection and tools that we have. Our big challenge is in basically capturing that information, having decision-making tools to determine what do we need to share with the public and then get it out with the public. With the advancement of smartphone technology and their significant drop in prices, almost every American probably in the next 3 years will be owning a smartphone. And it's going to be very beneficial to us because we can start sharing data with them in real time almost within a few seconds versus 2 to 3 minutes nowadays, and that plays an important role. In Jacksonville, what we decided to do is let's take the tools we have right now and let's start setting up a scenario. So for anyone familiar with Florida, Jacksonville has 2 major corridors running parallel, US 1 and I-95. And what we decided to do is put message signs on each, cameras, the vehicle detectors like Wavetronics or the ISS units, and Bluetooth. And in about 6 months, we're going to basically share this information with the public, and through the signs and smartphone applications in our 511 system, start load balancing roadways so we can try to reduce the amount of congestion during a normal day and also reduce the impacts of an incident on these corridors that may cause 30 to 40 additional minutes of travel time.
Excellent. Carla, given your expertise and given that you're a consultant with Gresham Smith and Partners, is there something that the sector desperately needs in which to progress further that you could tell all of the attendees?
Yes, I think the conversation needs to just start a lot earlier and get more people involved. Once folks understand the impacts of incidents on our safety and mobility, and once they see the benefits of incident management, it really gets the ball rolling on thinking of technology and operational things they can do to make things more efficient. And what I do see is that the conversation needs to start a lot earlier. We do a lot of ITS design work, and by the time we're in the design phases, the opportunity to get a lot of incident management technology into projects is already lost. So we've got to get the planners talking about incident management. We've got to get them made more aware of how these kinds of technology can be integrated into projects and make those projects a whole lot more beneficial than just capacity improving projects. So just a level of awareness that needs to be raised at all levels of stakeholders, policymakers, funding-making decision makers, designers, planners, engineers. We all need to talk about it and get that conversation started with our police, our fire folks, and towing and recovery agencies. And once that conversation starts, a lot of great things start to happen.
Excellent. And on the same vein, Carla, do you feel incident management technology has moved greatly Has it moved fast enough, or is it slowing down? Where do you see it going?
I think it definitely needs to move a lot faster, and I think it's not moving as fast as it could because we do have these silos of transportation folks talking to themselves and police and fire talking over here. If we get folks talking together, we can really have a lot more synergy in terms of funding, leveraging opportunities to get this technology in place. If we start sharing our needs and our resources with other agencies, I think that we can get things moving a lot faster than it has been in the past. And I see that happening more and more, but I do think it needs to happen to a greater degree.
That's a great point, and now that's a great segue into also our next topic, which is technological challenges. So what do you guys see as the biggest challenges that incident management is facing today on a strategic / tactical level? And we'll get the conversation going with Peter Vega.
As far as the technological challenges, it's trying to tie everyone in together, so that if we have responders from a sheriff's office or police department, fire and rescue, law enforcement, we can share information and determine what's the best plan of action and what type of tools are needed. One of the things that Florida has started doing is using the WebEOC platform as a way to communicate. Although it's beneficial because it gives us all the activities from other agencies, it's not in real time, so it's slow and cumbersome. And what we've decided we need to do is look at some type of a platform that all the different agencies are tied into so that whatever detailed response from fire rescue is provided, we have it in real time and can plan accordingly. And that's one of the goals we have in the next 2 years, to develop that one system where everybody's information goes in under a secure firewall, and then we grab what we need in order to help during the incident response.
Wonderful. Dennis, what about you? We have the 6 C's, as you see on the slide here. Are there some particular ones that you feel absolutely are critical as they relate to New Jersey?
I think they all are. I think we're doing a good job in coordination, communication, cooperation. Of course, there is more that can be done, and we're doing it on a daily basis. Recently, I had actually visited PennDOT and Pennsylvania Turnpike office exactly for those purposes. We sit down with local police departments. We have state police on our payroll. These wonderful 7 wonderful folks, they do communication for us too within their own unit and local PD. But I think one of the circles that you have here, the common platform, is the one that concerns me the most. It's been almost 10 years, 11 years now since 9/11, and we discussed interoperability. We still don't have that. We don't have common platform. We do not have connections on radios that we can talk when we need to. It's difficult to talk within DOT, which we have kind of overcome. Talking to sister agencies like Turnpike and Transcom and PennDOT is difficult. The local police department, state police department. So whether it's voice or data communication, those standards for having a stable platform have to be developed. I don't think much work has been done, and if it's done, it's not resulted into something that we can say, okay, we have this. In case of communication, coordination, cooperation, cash, consensus, we can show that. I don't know how much we can show as far as common platforms concerned.
Understood. And Mike, what about you as it relates to GDOT?
Well, we have some built-in advantages in the way we set up we procured our new software, our Navigator 2 software. We have unlimited licenses for Navigator 2, so we can share the same platform with any agency who wants it, and then all that agency has to do is come to us and say, well, we want either to run Navigator 2 off of the GDOT server, or we want to run Navigator 2 off our own server, and there's some cost associated with adding devices and device drivers, but for a relatively minimal cost, we are starting the process of having all the other regional traffic control centers using the same platform as we are. So from a technology standpoint, I think we're okay on the transportation side. Where the real issue comes in is interoperability between other first responding agencies, police and fire in particular. We have, multiple police and fire agencies have access to Navigator, so they have the one way where they can get incident information, they can see our cameras, but we really don't have a view inside their system as of yet. Now, we, like New Jersey, are funding some state police people, and one of the side benefits of that is we actually, during the PM peak, have a state police sergeant now sitting on our TMC floor. That's is recent, and we've already seen some major benefits from that. But the benefits are coming because that coordination, that communication, the sharing of data just didn't exist before, and so there's a long way we have to go to get that information so that when we have an incident first in our system, we can instantly through technology share it and vice versa versus the more old-fashioned means of communication, having to call a 911 center or have them call us, and in many cases, that knowledge of who to call and when to call gets lost when you have turnovers in personnel, and so it's really incumbent to not just through procedure and policy, but through technology to find a way to start sharing that data beyond just the departments of transportation in our region.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike. And then, Carla, what do you observe as the main challenges facing local and national authorities when implementing IM technology?
I think one of the main challenges is, again, just having that level of awareness of the importance of incident management. I mean, people are still, I kind of think, stuck in thinking that large capacity infrastructure building projects is the way to go. So when funding is limited, operations is kind of pushed to the side, but that's really one of the best benefits you can get for your money is to improve your operations overall, and incident management, of course, is a big part of that. So I think just raising the awareness and understanding the benefits, and maybe we have a challenge just communicating that, the benefits of incident management, getting the people together in the room, talking to one another, and explaining to them why this is an important investment of their time and their resources. I think that we can get a lot more things accomplished. And in talking about interoperability, if we get people talking early enough, we can get systems that are interoperable. If we get police talking to transportation, talking to fire, in the beginning of a project, it's more likely that we can get systems that communicate with each other and that meet all the agency's needs as opposed to getting them done individually without that level of collaboration between agencies.
Perfect. And so that is a good segue again into our next topic that talks about the technological solutions. And everyone's looking for the perfect solution to solve all the transportation woes, if you will. So the question is, does a perfect solution exist? And Dennis, we'll kick it off with you.
Does it? Is there? I don't know. I don't think there is a silver bullet. I think there's too much out there. There is no perfect solution in my mind. Again, I go back to what I said before. You cannot take traffic incident management out of systems operations and management. You got to look at the whole picture. It is the Safety Service Patrol. It is the TIM. It is ITS. They're all intertwined. So we need to look at them together. I agree with Carla. I think as much as TIM is becoming mainstream, it's not mainstream yet. Every worker has to know. I know Federal Highway is doing a wonderful job along with ESTO and Sharp 2 to bring train the trainer program. they will be training 1 million people in 10 years. That's going to mainstream it. We need to do that. Public-private partnerships, I think that we need that. We need to talk the same language. I think there are a lot of challenges out there. We have done a good job in the last 5 years, 10 years. We just need to push that envelope a little bit more. I think we can do it, but it's surely a challenge. I don't think there is a perfect solution, though.
Understood. Peter, do you agree with what Dennis said? Would you like to add something to that?
Yeah, and you know, one of the things that we've seen that's been a success around the country is to get those key players under one roof, to have the DOT in the same facility with the Highway Patrol, with local law enforcement, and you know, even traffic signals, because everybody plays a key component in not only managing traffic on a daily basis, but also in incident response. One of the things that we've done recently is actually come up with the Activu's video, the mobility and collaboration system with the video wall controller, which will help us get to that point so that no one's going to an event blind and no one's asking questions on what is occurring out in the field. Information sharing is important, and everybody in the same room to have one cohesive response is about as good as it's going to get for us.
Got it. So you obviously touched upon the next topic, which is what should the ideal solution be able to do? We all agree that there is no silver bullet that's going to solve all the transportation woes, but there should be some solutions that help you achieve or alleviate some of your woes. And you touched upon the solution you use. Dennis, what about you? Are there any solutions at NJDOT that help you alleviate some of the pressures?
Repeat that question again.
So we've all agreed that there is no silver bullet, there is no magic bullet to solving all the transportation problems. But is there an ideal solution, something that you use at NJDOT that helps you alleviate some of these pain points from an information sharing perspective, if you will?
I think it's growth in each area. Each area is meaning areas of communication, area of cooperation. Every day you chip a little bit. You find new partners to work with. You find new technology. You find someone mentioned this earlier in the call. We didn't have INRIX before. For a small price now, we can detect and verify incident. Stuff like that, going 511, reaching out to people in their cars versus VMS board. So if we chip in every area a little bit at a time, I think that's going to be a solution. There will be no silver bullet. There will be small parts of silver bullet going in each direction, and we need to work on all of them. And that's the challenge. How do you work and focus on each of those topics separately and currently together? Workforce development is a big concern. I think Michael said before, burnout, turnover, stuff like that, training. I mean, training is a big thing. How do you train someone knowing the constraints of a civil service and getting people from the system to train them in what we need to do the best? So there are a lot of challenges out there. We have to overcome them and slowly work towards what you are calling a perfect, but at least in my mind, good solution.
Understood. And now, I'm sure there must be issues out there that are pretty much universal, irrespective of what state you're from, what city, what country, if you will. So, if you guys could just shed some light on this topic and talk about some of those issues that you see that are universal regardless of where you come from. And Carla, let's get this one going with you.
Well, I'm pretty sure that one of the universal issues is just that institutional awareness and the multi-agency cooperation that we need. So the technology, in a lot of cases, is the easy part, but getting the institutions to understand each other's roles and responsibilities, kind of sharing and developing some common procedures and training, that is where the challenges mostly are. So if those folks can just get together and start talking, they can really work out a lot of the technology problems that they might have. So just, again, getting the different folks to understand their role in incident management and everyone else's role, and then getting a conversation started about how they can all work together to get things in the region improved. That's where we really need to be looking.
Gotcha. And now, Pete, do you have something to add to that particular thing, or how can this be tackled with local solutions? Are there any local solutions out there that can help you tackle this issue?
Yeah, there are, and it goes back to coordination. One of the good things that everybody does meets. One of the bad things is they don't open up their hearts and their pocketbooks to come up with a solution. In order to tackle a problem, not one agency can do it alone, because you can spend millions of dollars, have this nice gizmo out there, and then no one's going to utilize it, and you've just wasted money. So the key thing is when you spend the time in your traffic incident management team meeting that you like for us, we set up subcommittees. Say, okay, this is a good idea. Let's get some people to put some more thought in it. Let's utilize partners that aren't part of the TIM team to see if we can get some ideas, like the universities. One of the biggest things that we've benefited from is with our university, we'll have a question or an issue with incident management, some type of technology. We give it to the college kids. You give them like a six-pack of Coca-Cola and a case of Snickers, and they come back with something you never imagined, and it's usually a lot cheaper than you would have guessed. And it's just keeping those lines of communication open and providing, the tools needed to show that you're accomplishing things in your area.
Understood. Dennis, what about you?
Well, I think I agree with Carla. The institutional issues have come down, but they still exist. I would like to say that you need champions. Without a champion, you can have subcommittees, task forces. Those are great, but you need a champion to push them through. Having said that we need champions, you have to have a system where when the champion moves out, the system works. So it's a two-way sword where you need a champion to start something, but it should be strong enough that when the champion leaves, it does not buckle, and it stays there, and it continues year after year after year. You don't need to rely on another champion to show up. So I think it's important to find a champion. Once he's there, push it through, bring those barriers down, but then put policies in place. It's very important to put those policies and task forces in place that they can run on their own. Give them enough funding, give them enough power and strength that they run on their own.
Carla, this is Pete. This is Pete, and also to add on what Dennis just said, which is an excellent point. Finding that champion is difficult because everybody's trying to move up that food chain. But the one champion we found that has been very beneficial in Florida in all the major metropolitan areas has been the MPOs and the TPOs. Basically, for our champion, the TPO here in Jacksonville, we went to them with an explanation on TIM and how it would benefit the community. And from that, they actually doubled the amount of money invested in ITS in our area as compared to the Department of Transportation. So getting a champion, an MPO, is probably a good start to building your program for years to come.
And I have to add on to that. That is exactly right. That's what we've seen here in Metro Atlanta. Our Atlanta Regional Commission is very, very involved in our time task force, and we've seen a tremendous amount of advancements with their involvement. They've even helped us identify some eligible funding that we have available that we could do some time projects and funding and training with. So their involvement is essential. Just at planning level involvement, they know what projects are coming out. They have the access to funding mechanisms. That has been very successful with our program here in Metro Atlanta. So I definitely agree. Talk to your MPOs and your planners to get these types of things going and to get this TIM technology in projects from the very beginning.
Michael here. I think that what everybody said is right on the mark. The one thing I see is being a real challenge for us is how do you institutionalize these changes at these agencies. We have some real good heroes kind of representing. They're going out and they're teaching, they're preaching, and they're telling everybody the news of how incident management can work well, and how we can be safe first, but also we can get the road open, and what the benefits are of getting the road open, and how you save lives by opening that road sooner. The problem is that, you know, first of all, you don't get to be in this top position. You don't get to be someone who's a true champion and end up in your same job permanently. You know, if you're a champion, if you are taking an initiative, more than likely you're going to end up moving up within your agency. That's good on one level, but then the downside of that is that once that champion's gone, who's left to take their place? Who's left to put the message out? And so I think we have a challenge to not just have the champion of the moment, but to get changes done on an institutional level, whether we're talking about their operational practice, the standard of practice for a lot of these agencies, whether we're talking about the training of new hires, so that this information doesn't just reside with a couple individuals at each agency, but actually gets moved on and becomes an institutional part of each of these agencies. I think that's where our biggest challenge is.
Thank you, speakers. And now on to our last topic, which relates to finance and funding. So, you know, in the current economic climate that we are in, that we find ourselves in, not just nationally but globally as well, have authorities started to view incident management as a luxury? And we'll start it again, but Mike, with you.
Well, no. I think that the current economic climate has actually put more of a focus on operations, not less of a focus. We in our region have spent the last year, actually longer than a year, going through a process where we identified projects for a regional sales tax that was voted on in July, and all but 2 regions in the state rejected the sales tax, did not want to pay the extra money for these transportation improvements. Well, what that means is the majority of these projects are new construction, are new lanes. So once that doesn't happen, then what's left? Well, what's left is you have to operate what you have as efficiently as possible, and I think that's the direction that not just Georgia DOT is going to be going in, but every DOT is going to be going in, because on one level or not, there is going to come a day where you say, I can't add any more lanes to this. How many lanes is it possible to add to a roadway before you decide it becomes unmanageable? And a lot of the issues we have in terms of incidents are because of the sheer number of lanes you have. The traffic is moving in so many different directions at once that it becomes so easy for people to lose track and to find themselves in a crash. And so it kind of becomes incumbent and more important that you find a way to operate your roads more efficiently and put whatever resources you have available into operations, because that's where kind of the future for a lot of us lies.
Gotcha. Now, Pete, do you echo Mike's comments, or do you have a different take on this?
I mean, I'd just like to add that with the economic conditions throughout the country, and especially in Florida, it's kind of ironic, whereas as they keep on cutting capacity projects, they're looking more to ITS, Transportation System Management Operations, Incident Management, to keep roadways operating as smoothly and as efficiently as possible. What we've learned is that the public understands that. We don't hear the outcry for putting more pavement on the road. We're getting more outcry to make sure that our signal systems are working properly, that the response time and roadway clearance is improving they want to see now that they're getting the most bang for their buck on their tax dollars, which they hadn't seen in the past. And benefits are being displayed basically on a daily basis. Well, one funny thing that occurred with me was when our program was still in the infantile stage, we used to get calls from motorists that come from New Jersey and from Atlanta, and I'd get these complaints of, why the heck don't you have message signs in Jacksonville? You guys, aren't up to par with the rest of the country. And they were right. And as we've expanded and grown, we still see that they're demanding more. And, the next generation with the vehicle to roadway communications is going to take us to that level where we can hold off the storm of needing concrete on the road and using the technologies that are available right now to, basically stretch our investment a little bit longer.
Wonderful. And I know we're just about getting to the 2 o'clock mark, but I wanted to open up the lines for live Q&A. So if anyone has questions for any four of our speakers, please ask now. You could submit your questions via the chat, or you could just ask them outright by unmuting your lines.
Hesha.
Yes, Dennis.
While we wait for questions, I want to add something to the question on financing. I'm so glad to hear comments from Mike and Pete, because when you normally ask someone, it is like, yeah, there is not enough money. That's so not true. The pot is the pot. We all recognize that. But the distribution of the pot is in the hands of state DOTs. And we as leaders of either the incident management or ITS unit, we need to do our jobs to convince MPOs and people who distribute the money to show them and prove to them that the benefit cost is so much better when you do operational improvements such as TIM or Safety Search Patrol or active traffic management, that they will give you the money. So it's the onus is upon us. The money's there. I don't think I have been denied money by my federal highway partners or by my front office if I have a program ready. I have to have a program ready. So anybody who's listening and thinks that there is not enough money just need to work a little bit harder.
And I want to add to that also, Hesha, in terms of the funding. Again, this multi-agency cooperation comes into play really well here, because there's different funding other than just transportation funding that can be applied to this. There's Homeland Security, there's grant money, there's public safety, there's Department of Energy funding. There's a lot of different pots of funding that can be applied to traffic incident management technologies and just programs in general, that I think we need to broaden our horizon a little bit and look for other funding other than just simply transportation funding. So yeah, I agree, there definitely is more money out there, and much of that money has been untapped up to this point.
Understood. Now, there are some questions coming in directly from our attendees via chat, and this one's actually for you, Dennis. Are there any plans to add an incentive program for towers to clear major incidents such as commercial truck rollovers, similar to programs running in Florida and Georgia?
Absolutely. We're looking into what Florida has and Georgia has, their risk program, and Mike, you have a program called, what's the name?
The TRIP program.
TRIP program. Absolutely. I mentioned before in my introduction that our incident clearance time has come down to 50 minutes. If we understand that's plateaued down now, if we need to make any dent, I need to do something different. And we are looking into it. We are establishing baselines. We are having dialogues with state police and our wonderful MPOs, the DVRPC and NJTPA, to see what we can do in federal highways. So absolutely, it's coming. It's a matter of time.
Gotcha. And now we have this interesting question from someone in Albuquerque. Is anyone exploring automatically detecting conditions that are precursors to incidents? And as an example, he's mentioned that they found in Albuquerque that the number of cameras in the field are fast outpacing the real estate we have on our video display walls. Invariably, we have some delays in our TMC operators detecting those vehicles and dispatching our motorist assistance patrol to accommodate quick clearance. So is anyone exploring this? New Jersey, Georgia, Florida, anything that detects conditions that are precursors to incidents?
Michael here. I'm glad that topic got brought up because that's something I actually have a bit of a real interest in, and we're going to be working in the near future on how can you, we have all this data that tells you what speed and occupancy are. We also have years and years of historical data that say for this time of day what's normal, and so I really want to marry the speed gradation we can use in real time to say, okay, my speed has just gone from X to Y. That speed variation is indicative of a change of conditions, and then have that change of conditions be measured against historical data for date, time, weather condition to say, is it normal 3 o'clock on a Friday to have this type of speed variation? Answer is yes. So it doesn't generate an alarm. Is it normal to have this kind of speed generation Saturday at 1 p.m. When there's no major events in town? The answer is no, this is not normal, and so it generates an alarm and allows us to focus in, because if we just rely on camera tours, we're going to be behind on finding crashes, and that's something that I think we as part of the TMC can have the most control over, is the time in between the occurrence of the crash and when we have started dispatching and actively managing that incident.
Ansha, do we have time for another answer?
Yep, we'll take one last answer.
Yeah, let me take an answer on that. Let me answer that question. I think it's a two-pronged approach. One, New Jersey is going to look into video analytics, like Mike said. It's difficult to view 200 plus cameras and growing. So we are looking at inviting people who do video analytics and see if technology can help us find the delay instead of the person sitting there and going crazy. And also, the second part is using a company like IBM or another software company to do prediction modeling, so that we know we have an incident, how big is the incident, we know the travel conditions on historic basis, and what kind of delays we will cause. So we're working on both fronts. Turnpike is working with IBM, and New Jersey DOT will be working with different vendors to install some video analytics software.
Hey, so real quick, and I want to add to that because we're doing the same thing, but the one thing you have to use caution on, we tried it with a certain product about 5 years ago. Make sure there's extensive testing on weather conditions, especially rain and fog, because you'll rely on these devices, and you'll either get so many alarms you'll want to turn it off, or you won't get the alarm when you need it.
Good point, Pete.
Excellent. Well, there are a ton of good questions still in the chat, but we are just about 10 minutes over the clock, so I think this is probably an appropriate time in respect for everyone's time, and there are people from Russia and India, and I know it's pretty late out there. So what we're going to do is, attendees, don't be afraid. We'll definitely get your questions answered. I know who you are, so we'll definitely get your questions answered. We'll send them directly to the people that you've asked, and commonly to all of the speakers that we have here. But in any case, thank you so much, everyone, all the attendees, and definitely all the 4 speakers for speaking on this webinar today. We appreciate all the time you've given us, and everything you've said that's been so meaningful and insightful to the attendees who've stayed on, listened on, and I'm sure everyone's very appreciative of what you had to add. So thank you, everyone, so much for joining in on the webinar, and we'll send you the slides and the recording as well in the days to come. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you.